everyone. I am Chase Owens, your host of Hot Route Takes, along with my good friends Christian Mills, Brian Sarver. Playoff divisional round football preview coming up for you guys. I'm nervous, Max. I'm nervous. We have one of our teams is left standing, my Baltimore Ravens. As we get to the divisional round, they had that bye week. They face one of the hottest QBs and hottest teams in the league. You got 8 playoff teams left, 8 exciting quarterbacks. Only Pat Mahomes has won one before, so there's a 7 out of 8 chance that a new Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl quarterback is hoisting that Lombardi this year. Let's hope that's the case anyway. I know Pat's done won a couple we could use for some fresh blood, lifting that Lombardi up. So we got 4 exciting matchups to preview for you guys. So you got 2 Saturday matchups, including both 1 seeds, and 2 Sunday matchups for all fighting for a chance to get to their respective conference championship game. The one that leads us off is my Ravens hosting the Houston Texans, who came off probably the best, most impressive performance, them in Green Bay, I would say, in wildcard weekend. If you guys have not heard our thoughts on the recap, we just recorded that, got that out for you guys. So go back, take a listen at that. And that breaks down our thoughts on Houston's performance. They looked great, man. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I'm nervous, and my anxiety is through the roof. Like, this whole week, I've been watching Ravens highlights where they played all the way back in week 1. I'm trying to study film, analyze what went down, what has changed since that matchup all the way back week 1 between these two teams. And I'm still just on like high end, strung out. Like, I can't wait till Saturday, and I'm just losing sleep over it. You guys can tell it's going to be a fun one. I think both of these teams have some great players. They have great rosters and great quarterbacks. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on the matchup. Maybe start us out with, like we did last week, on X Factor, a player, a position group maybe you're looking for from either team as the key factor in this matchup. I will say before we get to that, the Ravens open at home as 9-point favorites, one of the biggest spreads, but as I said, a spread in NFL like that means nothing when you get a hot quarterback coming in. So this could go either way. There's going to be a lot of guys picking each team. How about you guys? Before we get into picks, just an X factor, a player you're looking for that can determine this matchup.
Well, I feel like it's a pretty easy one from my perspective, at least. And I look at this football game. There's one individual player I think could have the biggest impact on it, and it's Lamar Jackson. Because a lot of their offense does run through Lamar, and it's a very stark contrast from what they saw last week in Joe Flacco. I think that's the slowest quarterback out there, and this is probably the fastest quarterback out there. So dealing with that obviously is going to be a handful, but I'm also looking to see what Baltimore's defense can do to slow down CJ Stroud and really do something about this Nico Collins guy who's just been taken over.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brian. For me, the big X factor is not so much Lamar for the Baltimore side. I know Mark Andrews is coming back, but I'm not even going to go with him. It's just which one of these wide receivers for Baltimore. We've seen Amari Cooper struggle and really all the Cleveland guys. So it's just like who in this Baltimore room that you really trust in that could step up and be the actual true number 1 in this game. I'd like to say Zay Flowers, but you also got to think young rookie, his first playoff game, coming off of a bye too. So how is Zay Flowers going to play in this game? OBJ the vet, but hadn't really had a huge game. So maybe this would be where you can see him take advantage. But that's my X factor on the Ravens side, just which of these wide receivers will step up. And just for, Houston side, it's going to be Nico Collins for me. This team's going to go as far as Nico and CJ Stroud goes. It's not really anybody else that's going to really take this team to that level without those two guys.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys' players you're pointing out there. Just some housekeeping notes before I get into mine. A few injury updates for you. Marlon Humphrey is the lone Raven. That's a key starter that's yet to practice. So his status for game time's not looking great, which concerns me, obviously, for a secondary going against a hot quarterback and hot receiver. Yes, like Nico Collins. So concerning for me, but Mark Andrews was back and fully practiced today, so that could be a big boost for the offense. The Texans, they have pretty much the same injury report they had for Cleveland. A lot of guys banged up like Will Anderson, Grenard, I believe one of the linebackers is also banged up, some offensive guys. Noah Brown was put on IR, so that's a hit to their receiver room. Uh, Injuries along those lines to keep an eye on who actually plays in this game and what goes down. I'm hopeful for two healthy teams and two really good coached football teams. And when I look at that and who's the X factor in the game, I land on Baltimore's defense and Kyle Hamilton. He was a guy that was banged up a little towards the end of the year, but when he's been on the field, the defense has been one of the better defenses in the league. And he is a special playmaker on this defense. He has the ability to erase the other team's playmakers on offense. And if you're without Marlon Humphrey, you need a Kyle Hamilton to take away your Nico Collins or your Dalton Schultz, whoever CJ Stroud has eyes for on that day. So I really want to see how he plays. I thought he was super impressive in his playoff debut last year against Cincinnati, forcing a fumble, really physical that game, tackled well, great in coverage. He really did those things in the regular season, earned him first team All-Pro honors, and rightfully so. Just great season. So hopefully he continues that in our matchup in the playoffs here. So Christian, Brian, you've singled out some players you're looking for. I think it's obviously two great teams. Chance to go to the AFC title game. Who do you have coming out victorious? Are you going to spurn me and predict me to have a poor weekend, or are you going to have me riding high on cloud nine, ready to celebrate with you guys next podcast? What do you say?
I think you'll be celebrating, Chase, and I don't think the Texans are quite there yet. They did play good last week, but this is a little bit of a different story. This Baltimore defense has really been playing good all season long, and I think if anyone forgot, they're going to find out again in this game just how good this defense is, particularly the middle of the field with Patrick Queen playing good football right now and Roquan Smith. I think, they run a lot of their stuff in the middle of the field as well. I know they like to take a lot of deep shots as well because they got a phenomenal quarterback, Nico Collins, who likes to win down the field. But this Ravens defense, I do believe is legit, and I think that is going to be a difference in this game as long as Lamar Jackson can create and make some things happen on offense. I'm going to go Baltimore 28, Texans 16.
Man, this was, a game I did go back and forth on, Chase, but ultimately I kind of went with what, kind of like Brian said, but me more so just Houston is overachieving, you could argue. Like, they should not. I mean, I ain't gonna say they shouldn't be here, but when you took a quarterback pick 2, you are definitely not where you should be right now. But my big thing too is just Baltimore and the wins they have, and you go back and look. I mean, what they did to Detroit, what have they done to Baltimore, what they done to the 49ers, and then you look at Houston and go, they can definitely do what they done to those elite teams to this team that's overachieved. And that's where just ultimately I go Ravens. I'm, the only thing that scares me is CJ Stroud, and if he can somehow pick away at this defense, and that's where, to me, I think more so it's going to be, maybe like a 31-24 game. Like, I just see a lot of points in this game. I think there is going to be some big defensive plays, definitely on the Baltimore side, but I just think there's going to be a lot of points and just near the end where Baltimore's just really trying to run this thing out.
Yeah, I like those picks, guys. Obviously, it's what I'm rooting for in this game. Some key things to watch out for as a Ravens fan. Can you continue to get home and get sacks on CJ Stroud? They led the league in sacks this year, the Ravens defense did, and CJ Stroud just didn't make mistakes. Like, he had the best TD to interception ratio. Can you force him into a turnover-worthy throw and get the defense a key turnover? The offense for the Ravens, when they turned the ball over 2 or more times, those were all of their 4 losses. They were 2-4 in those games. So take care of the ball on offense. Don't beat yourselves. Don't make dumb penalties. And see if you can force CJ Stroud into a mistake. And that's going to be hard to do, but you got to get pressure, which you did all year. And I'm hopeful that one of Clowney, Kyle Van Noy, or Matt Abike does just that. They sacked CJ Stroud 4 times, I believe, in the first matchup, the second most times he was sacked all regular season. So that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm watching for. I think we get that done. I'm nervous as all get out. I think Houston's a great team, a great story, but no rookie quarterback has ever played in the Super Bowl for a reason. It's so hard to do year one, guys. They're still a few pieces away. I think they're a great team. They're going to be a great team for years to come with this quarterback. And he can go in and take this game from the Ravens, and I'd be very heartbroken, but he's capable of doing it. I'm going to lean our guys. I've been riding with them all year. I think they're up for the challenge. Roquan's a leader on the defense. Lamar's leader on the offense. I think he'll have those guys ready to play. Give me Ravens 20. Let's go 27-17. Now, if it gets to a one-possession game late, I will be sweating bullets. I'm going to be sweating bullets for 3 hours anyway, but I'm going to predict a more than one possession victory in hopes that that comes to truth. So that's the first matchup. It's the Saturday 4:30 game. America will be watching those great quarterbacks duel against each other. And the other one seed will finish us off on Saturday. It's the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Green Bay Packers, the 1-7 matchup. The Niners open as 9-point favorites. A lot of great things you can say about the Niners and the roster and the just the elite coaching they have on their staff. But we said it in the recap episode of Wildcard Weekend. No team put together a better performance than Green Bay. Houston and Green Bay had the lights-out performances of Wildcard Weekend, and Jordan Love had the lights-out performance of quarterbacks of Wildcard Weekend. So can he repeat that on the road against arguably the best roster in football? A player I'm looking out for, I'm going to go with Green Bay side because I think the San Francisco roster has kind of been there, done that for a lot of those. So I need a Green Bay player to step up. Last week it was Jair Alexander as my pick. He stepped up, got an interception. Can someone like an Aaron Jones produce like he did last week? And this is a formidable linebacker duo he's facing, a formidable line he's facing. Can you get big chunk plays against that San Fran defense? Help Jordan Love out. Take a little pressure off him and those receivers and keep this game manageable. Chew some clock. Keep that firepower offense off the field. Big game from Aaron Jones. I like the Packers' chances. They're 9-point underdogs, but they're not out of this fight. They're a very talented team. They're a very hot team. So which player, either side, guys, are you looking for as an X factor in this primetime Saturday matchup?
I'm looking at the Green Bay Packers linebacking corps, who has kind of been a sore spot for them. I think in this game particularly, they're going to have to cover, Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan style offense. What are they going to do? I've preached it. They're going to throw the ball in the middle of the field. And so they're going to have to be prepared today, especially since, San Francisco had the bye. They're healthy. They got all these playmakers coming in, and they got a wealth of playmakers, as everyone knows. You got to account for a lot of weapons on this team. And so I think if they have any chance of succeeding in this game, it's going to start with limiting this passing attack. Make them run the football, do whatever you got to do, but you cannot give chunk gains, and that's what this offense has been able to do this season, whether it's Christian McCaffrey in the run game or whether it's play action, George Kittle running 60 yards down the sideline. Like, it does not matter. They can attack you in a myriad of different directions, and they're going to have to step it up here.
Yeah, for me, just on the 49er side, I just think it's going to be like, I don't know what it is. It's just Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel. I just see him have a big day. I guess wherever you could say where their number one corner on Green Bay's not going to be. I just see one of those two guys just having a field day. To Valentine's, their second corner in Green Bay, and he's done. He held his own, but I mean, Dallas eventually started trying to pick on him. They should have went to it earlier in the game and maybe found success, but I think the 49ers see that, know that, and they will do that. And I just think their defense, Fred Warner's definitely an X factor. He's going to try to trick out Jordan Love, definitely on some of those throws in the middle of the field. I think that's something to watch and see how Jordan Love adjusts to that. And then on the Packer side, I think it's really going to be Aaron Jones is the X factor in this game if he can get going. If not, then you're putting all the pressure on Jordan Love. And we've seen that he has lived up to that, but that's against good teams. This is a great team. Can Jordan Love live up to something like that, having all the pressure on his shoulders? I could see it, but I hope that's not how this game turns out.
All right, so as we get into final thoughts before we get predictions for this game here, I just want to point out both these teams, Ravens, Niners, 1 seed, historically speaking, the best teams don't always match up for a Super Bowl. The Ravens were a historic team. They finished 5th in DVOA at a every team since it's been tracked since 1981, I believe, the fifth best team overall in DVOA. The Niners were the eighth. The next best team in 2023 was the Buffalo Bills, and they were way down the list. And as far as its history, they were like the 40s or something like that. So these have been the two best teams all season, and you would expect them to match up in the Super Bowl, right? That's just not the way playoff football works. It's way more likely that one of these teams doesn't reach the Super Bowl. One, sure. Both, very unlikely. So that gets to where, do you predict one of these teams to lose this divisional round? They're both facing two of the hottest teams in football. I'm not going to go that direction yet. I think one of them will fall in the conference championship. I'm not sure who yet. I'm going to watch divisional football, see how that plays out. I'm rooting for San Fran to be gone, honestly. I think they're the best team still in football. I love my Ravens, but if Baltimore were to reach a Super Bowl and face San Fran again, I'd have a hard time picking Baltimore because how talented San Francisco is. So I'm rooting for Green Bay in this game, actually, but I would not be shocked to see either team lose. I'm hoping it's San Fran, but I'm not going to pick that to happen this week. Give me the Niners over a very ready to play and well coached Matt LaFleur led Packers team. I think they'll stay in this game, but ultimately Niners offense just too much firepower. As long as they take care of the ball, I'm going to take the Niners 31-20 over the Packers in Saturday Night Football.
All right. Well, I think the world's going to be shocked after this weekend because the Green Bay Packers are going to go into Santa Clara and pull out a dub, and Jordan Love is going to state himself as one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL.
I can't wait to clip that and post it and hope you're right. We will get some views on that. Please let that one come to fruition. Care to explain? Give a score. Why do you think that's going to break down that way? Obviously, San Fran's a great team.
28-27 Green Bay. I think, like we had talked about, they're not going to be able to key in on any specific receiver or weapon. Yes, Aaron Jones, you got to stop that. That's key. That's first and foremost, really, because in this hot streak Green Bay has had, Aaron Jones has not had less than 111 yards rushing in the last 6 games they played, and he has been on fire. So that's key if you want to stop Green Bay's offense right now. Like we said, though, they're on fire, and you never know where they're going to hit you at. They got a bunch of young receivers, Wicks, Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft. I mean, they got guys, man, and they're all young, and you don't know which one you're going to get hit with, and they got a bunch of varying skill sets. They don't just have a speed guy. They got a speed guy. They got guys with length. They got route runners. They got a lot of nice young weapons here. And I think it gives them a chance. I really do. And Green Bay's defense, like I said, that's the X factor for me. Because if they can just limit the 49ers offense to less than 30 points, Green Bay's got a shot.
Don't get how a man could believe in Jordan Love, but not Aaron Rodgers. That's for another day. But for me, man, I went back and forth, and I mean, I did go down, the rabbit hole that Brian went down. Then I realized, this is my big thing is just how young this team is in Green Bay. I mean, I think they have, maybe you can argue, I think it is the youngest team, but definitely right now in the playoffs, I know they are. And to me, I think that's where the 49ers have the upper hand. This is a veteran team. They've been here, done that, came up short. They've known, their big thing is if we had a quarterback, we'd be champions right now. And I think with that being said, a lot of these young corners are going up against, Ward, Fred Warner. It's a veteran group all over that defense and on this offense. And I just think it's going to be too much for Green Bay to really handle. And that's why I have the 49ers winning. I mean, I think it's going to be a shootout. I really do. And that's why I kind of went in the direction of, 34-28 is where I'm leaning. I mean, I know that's a lot of points, but I think Jordan Love, and then we'll start trying to throw it out a lot when they have to, and it's just going to be Christian McCaffrey and the 49ers just trying to run this thing out to close out the game and win it.
Yeah, that Green Bay defense still scares me, man. I think Matt LaFleur is a heck of a coach. And Jordan Love's a heck of a quarterback. Two of the hotter play callers and quarterbacks and throwers of the football right now in the NFL. But when you flip to the defense and you think of all the playmakers on San Fran, wow, that's a mismatch to say the least. So they got to generate a turnover. Like they got 2 off deck. They're going to have to get off Purdy, who's capable of giving you those if you prepare the right way and you have a playmaker on defense to steal one away from him and steal a possession. So we'll be watching those games closely on Saturday and hopeful for my Ravens to come out, maybe hopeful for an upset. At least I am on this podcast, so we can have a joyful one the next time we talk to you guys. We'll flip over to Sunday, guys. We got 2 games left. The first one here, each of these quarterbacks, if I told you they're playing for a chance to play a conference title game, you may have been blown away. And that's Jared Goff of the Lions hosting Baker Mayfield of the Buccaneers. The Lions open as 6.5-point favorites at home. 2 hot teams, man, 2 hot offenses. I think they played great games on Wild Card Weekend. The defenses really stepped up the plate, I would say. I mean, I know the Rams diced up the Lions a bit on Wild Card Weekend, but Matt Stafford's a dang good quarterback, and he really does that against a lot of teams. So, great coach teams. Dan Campbell, you got the city of Detroit on your fingernail right now. Like, they love you, can't get enough of you. Can you back up a performance in a game you're actually favored in against a well-coached team and a hot football team in their own? And make plays on offense, make plays on defense to win this game. When I look at a player to make those plays, I'm going to go with Aiden Hutchinson. The Detroit defense can look sketchy at times when you give the quarterback time to operate, and Baker is no slouch when he has time back there. He's got playmakers to get the ball to. So Aiden Hutchinson, can you wreak havoc against a solid offensive line in Tampa Bay? Can you get back there, pressure Baker, force him into a mistake, and get the momentum and the crowd into the game for Detroit and just play with a lead? So that's the player I'm watching for. Christian, anyone from the Bucs side or anyone from the Lions side that you're going to have your eyes on in this matchup?
This game, man, was a tough one for me to really go and definitely just to pick who I'm thinking will win that I'm going to announce later. But just both of these teams have guys that I've really beat the drum on. And for me, I mean, the X factor definitely for Tampa Bay is Baker Mayfield. Can he carry on what he's been doing for this team? And he proved us last week it doesn't have to be his number one guy, Mike Evans, for them to really get the passing yards and get what he needs to get done. I think him and White are definitely the 2 on Tampa Bay side. And then this Lions side is really one, St. Brown. I think Tampa Bay is going to try to delete this running game if they can. And with that being said, it's going to be Gibbs in the passing game like we seen last week. If I had to bet money on it, I'm thinking Tampa Bay is going all out on stopping their running attack and trying to let Jared Goff be the reason they lose this game. Have we seen, Dan Campbell believes in Jared Goff, but we'll stop there and listen to who else maybe believe in Jared Goff as much as they do right now.
All right. As far as X factors go, on the Buccaneers side, I think I look at Rachaad White. He's kind of been part of a catalyst for this team and their offensive success later in the year and into the playoffs, both in the running game and in the passing game. If he can continue to have success against a Detroit Lions team that's not really known for their defense, especially in the pass coverage, a lot of injuries throughout the year, but they did get a CJ Gardner-Johnson back, which is big for them, especially against the Buccaneers team who will test you vertically. But then on the Lions side, the X factor, in my opinion, Sam Laporta against Antoine Winfield, that's going to be a matchup to watch in this football game. What can Sam Laporta do against one of the better safeties in all of football? And can he continue to have a great season? I think that he does. I'm going to save my prediction for later. But Sam Laporta is going to be key to this football game.
Yeah, the fact that he was playing Wild Card Weekend, I didn't think that had a chance. And you're talking of that matchup. Winfield had one of the more underrated seasons in all of football. I think that Tampa defense was underrated for much of the year, and he was a key part of that. I really went back and forth on this prediction, guys. I think Baker right now, to me, I think I trust him more. But I love the Lions running backs, and I really think they can get some things moving at home in that atmosphere. I'm going to take the Lions in a very close game. I'll say 23-20 final for Detroit to move to the NFC Championship. Funny enough, y'all remember way back in week 4 or 5, I think it was, I went on a semi-bold take and took this Lions team to reach an NFC Championship.
You did, yeah.
I didn't think it'd play out this way. The defense ended up coming back to earth a little bit, and they didn't have to go through a Dallas, a Philly, or a San Fran to get there. So the cards have broken their favor, man. This is the path you want as a Lions fan. You're hosting 2 playoff games. You brought the energy in the crowd last weekend against a really good Rams team, a really good quarterback, Matt Stafford. Can you do it again against a hot Buccaneers team? I think they'll accomplish that. I expect a great game, but I'm going to take the Lions to advance to the NFC Championship.
You want it, Brian? Or you want me to do it,
I mean, it doesn't matter, man. I think you want to go last.
Yeah, save me for last, man.
I went with the Lions, man. I do think that this is a good pool for the Buccaneers. I think they match up pretty well. If you look at what the Bucs do well and what they are able to do on offense, I think they can test Detroit vertically down the field. And then Rachaad White, like we have said, they've kind of struggled at times tackling in open field, and that's one thing Rachaad White can do really well. But I do think Brian Branch will be a big part of this game as well, particularly in the intermediate, and he'd probably be matched up a good bit with Rachaad White. But with Detroit, I think the rushing attack, the complementary offense, the coaching, I mean, I just think there's a little too much here all in all, despite it being a good matchup for the Buccaneers. I'm going to go Detroit and somewhat of a nail-biter, 20-17.
All right. For me, man, went back and forth. I have guys on both sides that I've been cheering for pretty much all year in Gibbs and Baker Mayfield, but ultimately, what Chase did, for his last little spill on the other 2 teams, one of these teams have to go down, a team that should be winning, and ultimately I went with Tampa Bay is going to win this game. And the big thing for me is, I mean, they couldn't stop Puka Nacua last week. This defense is missing a lot when it comes to a passing attack, and Tampa Bay has that going for them. I think, Chris Godwin's getting way healthier this year. Now you have Mike Evans. Then they just had, their tight end Cade go off. So they have 3 good weapons. White's been a part of this passing game too, and I just ultimately think this Detroit defense, like Tampa has too much for them to really lock on to really get them not to ultimately, I think, win this game. And just like I said, the X factor thing, I just think Tampa Bay is going to take away this running game, and then it's going to come down to Jared Goff and St. Brown, Sam Laporta, these guys to really step up. And I just really like what Tampa has to offer on defense more so than Detroit. And that's what leads me to a game that I think is going to be not so much a defensive game. I think a defense will come over top, and I think it's going to be a lot of points. I went with Tampa Bay 38, the Lions 28.
Wow. And either of these quarterbacks playing in a conference championship, just mind-blowing stuff if I told you that season's beginning. Credit to these coaching staffs and these football teams and roster for playing as hard as they did and performing when it mattered most last week in wildcard weekend. So be a fun one to watch Sunday afternoon as we finish up divisional preview here, guys. It's probably the headlining matchup of the week. I'd say the smallest spread according to Vegas. The Bills open as 2.5-point favorites at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. This has been a matchup that's happened time and time again in the playoffs. The Chiefs always coming out on the better end of it. Can Josh Allen and company finally get things done this time at home? No longer is this matchup taking place in Arrowhead. That's been the key thing to swing things in the Chiefs' favor here recently. Can Bills Mafia show up and get Josh Allen some support and the difference to finally emerge victorious in this game? I think each side is complexing, and there's players all throughout each roster that can impact this game. So I'm going to steer away from the obvious and 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league. I'm not going to single those guys out. Obviously, if one of those outplays the other, their team has a chance of winning. I'm going to go towards a defensive player that can impact this game, and someone that I don't even know if we've mentioned on this podcast yet, but it's been a very sound player for the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's Trent McDuffie. He's a great corner. He's been very good in the slot. And Buffalo, they still are a very pass-heavy team. I know since the OC switch, they've gotten Cook involved a little more. But more often than not, it's Josh Allen dropping back, and if he has to scramble, he scrambles. But I'm looking for the McDuffie matchup. If he's on Diggs a lot, who's still their best perimeter guy, Allen's fallen in love with tight ends here last weekend, but he's really a week-to-week quarterback. Whoever's open, he's going to throw to. Can McDuffie shut down their top target? Is he traveling with Diggs? Is he staying inside on one of the slot guys? Does he make an impact when he's thrown at and cause a turnover, cause a breakup to get the ball up in the air? Or maybe he has a book on Josh Allen, who has been known to throw into some tight windows and give his guys a chance. That can lead to turnovers. Can one of the Kansas City corners, in particular, the guy I'm singling out, make a play and steer the Chiefs in favor and get their sideline fired up as they're the road team for the first time in the Pat Mahomes era? So that's the player I'm looking at. Guys, I'd love to hear your takes on either Chiefs or a Bills player you're watching out for in this probably headlining matchup of divisional weekend.
All right, so mine is kind of one in the same. It's one player from each team, but it kind of goes to the general theme to what I'm looking at here as far as the X Factor goes, and it's, can Buffalo get the ground game going against Kansas City? I think really if you can force the ball to be in Josh Allen's hands, he's going to make a ton of great plays, but the statistics and history will tell you he is going to turn the ball over. Well, it's likely that he'll turn the ball over if you put the game in his hands. So that being said, I think the two X factors is James Cook. What can he get going on the ground? And can he be a weapon in both the ground game and in the pass game? You've seen several points this year where they kind of lean on that. They kind of take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands, kind of let him play complementary to the rushing attack. But on the other side, Chris Jones, because if he can stop the run and then get some pressure on Josh Allen, force him into a critical mistake, now you're looking at a potential scenario where the ball is in Mahomes' hands and the game is under his control. And I think that's a situation you don't want to be in if you're Buffalo. And he traditionally takes pretty good care of the ball. So Chris Jones and James Cook.
Cool. Yeah, I like it.
All right. Well, I'm going to stick with the theme and go defense. I think that's ultimately where this game is going to be, who's going to win, where this game's going to change is what defense comes and step up to the plate. And I guess I'm going to start with Buffalo side. These are two guys I know we hadn't talked about, and that's going to be Von Miller and Ed Oliver. Both of these guys on the D-line. Can they get to Patrick Mahomes? Can they slow him down? Is a big key. Ed Oliver, can he cause enough havoc in the middle, I think, to really get, Isaiah Pacheco not going? Then on the other side of KC, it's going to be Snead. I mean, we've seen what he did last week to Tyreek Hill. I think that would be maybe a guy you'd lean towards to sticking on, actually. Diggs maybe, just because of how much you can say he affect Tyreek Hill. Granted, two different wide receivers, how they play, but I think that'd be a nice matchup to watch. So it's just which of those defensive guys that I list will really step up to the plate and make this game change. So I just think, that's where it's going to be, to me, what happens in this game. What you got, Brian?
I don't think it's going to be Von Miller.
Well, he's out, ain't he? That's fine.
I was going to let you finish, but
Ed Oliver got it, man. Yeah. Ed Oliver's got it, man.
Ed Oliver is a solid choice. The Bills' defense, it's been injury-riddled all regular season, but they've been a unit that hasn't caved in. They still find a way to generate pressure a little bit. They're going to need that. We talked earlier in this podcast. Patrick Mahomes, one of the best scramblers in all of football. He really knows how to make plays off script. And these are two of the best quarterbacks in the league, and they're going to be battling each other in that. So which defense can step up, make a play, will be key. I went back and forth. I know the Bills are favorite, and I really think the Bills are the better team. They showcased that, especially in the second half. They've been the hottest team entering the playoffs, winners of 5 straight coming into postseason play. Their offense is humming. Josh Allen's taking care of the ball. All signs for me point to the Bills because I think they play better and they have the better roster. That said, I'm going to go with the Chiefs because I've just can't bet against Pat Mahomes. I can't get myself to do it, and he is the best quarterback in the league, and until I see him fall in the playoffs, I'm not going to pick against him. It'd take a superhero team for me to pick against him, really, and he's traveling on the road for the first time in his playoff career. How does he handle that? I think he's the best quarterback in the league for a reason. I think he'll have no problem with that. I know it's going to be a raucous environment, but as long as he gets Kelsey to catch the ball this weekend, he had a tough weekend last week and still gets Rice involved, and Pacheco can generate a little bit of explosive plays on the ground. I think the KC offense will outplay Josh Allen and company, who I also expect to have a good day. So I think it's going to be a tightly tested game. Sorry, Bills fans. I know y'all have been on this side of heartbreak time and time again against the same foe in the playoffs, but it's kind of, I'm in the boat of until I see it, I won't believe it between these two teams. So I'm going to go with KC in a close one, say 31-28 by field goal late. Give me the Chiefs on the road.
All right. Two marquee quarterbacks, two elite quarterbacks playing in this game, playoff environment. Can't wait. This is much must-watch football right here. Can't miss it. But that being said, the star of the show is actually Taylor Swift. It's not Josh Allen. So I think the Chiefs are going to take this one, man, and it's because of Taylor Swift. Okay, it doesn't have anything to do with my prejudice against the Buffalo Bills. Nothing to do with that.
Nothing.
It's
Right.
straight Taylor Swift.
I mean, that's the hard hitting analysis that our listeners tune in for.
I'm telling you.
We could go X and O's all day, but what they really want to hear is how Taylor Swift's going to impact this game and how she's going to single-handedly get the Chiefs to another conference championship.
Well, they're going to cut to her like 10 times in this game. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be a touchdown for the Bills, and they're going to be like, oh, there's Taylor Swift. And she's just going to be sitting there, not very happy about it. But on a real note, I just think that this Chiefs team, I don't think they played their best football, but, thankfully to my team, Miami, they might caught some rhythm, and I'm pulling for them to beat Buffalo because I can't stand them. But Rashee Rice, he's been continuing to build on a strong year. He had maybe one of his best games last week. This Buffalo defense is a little beat up. The pass rush has been hit or miss this year. I think Patrick Mahomes does enough, extending plays, making plays happen, that they take this one.
All right. I went back and forth, looking at both of Miami's fathers here, and I, ultimately picked just what team I thought, who's been ready for this, who's been grinding for this. And that's ultimately, way back when in this pod, I said Buffalo's going to do what they got to do to make it to the playoffs. And they did it. KC's been up and down. Heck, as a Chargers fan, Chase, I go up against them all the time and pray for their downfall. Yes, it does not work a lot of the time, but I just ultimately think this Buffalo team's a better team offensively. They have not struggled. It's just been turnovers. There hadn't been a time you looked at this team and go, man, they're struggling on offense. It's just been turnovers. Without those turnovers, this offense is humming. And I think, Josh Allen builds upon what he did last week with no turnovers. Keep that going into this game. And KC, I just think it's not going to be, I ain't going to say as easy as it was against Miami. I don't think that game was really that easy. It's just the offense for Miami never could get going, and that's going to be where Buffalo can get going. I think if this game goes to where we look at it at any time and go, man, this team's down 2 touchdowns, this game about to be over. No. Both of these offenses can turn that real quick. And I just think Buffalo's, to me, like Chase said, is the better roster at this point. They have more weapons on offense. And ultimately, I think, KC has 2 guys that you can argue. I know Sky Moore came off of IR. I don't know if he's going to play in this game, but does that change anything for you? Because it doesn't for me. I just think Diggs, Kincaid, Cook, Josh Allen, just what they have on Buffalo right now, I'm rocking with that. I have them, definitely winning this one. And, whoever they play next week, I think you can maybe argue that they are the best team kind of left standing if we see one of these other teams get upset. And 49ers or Baltimore, you could argue that this is the best team left. Brian, shake your head, man. They are the father of your division, and they might win and, go on and win a Super Bowl this year. I ain't going to take it that far, but I just think they're way better than KC at this point.
Hey, Josh Allen might be my father, but dang, am I lucky that Patrick Mahomes isn't in my division, because he's not only my father, he's the Chargers' father, and he's the
That's
NFL
fine,
father.
brother. We get a new coach, but Josh Allen is he's going to be there for a long, long time.
Mahomes will too.
Headlining, I love it, guys. Love the banter. The headlining matchup of divisional week. I'm real hopeful my Ravens come out Saturday and I can kick my feet up and watch this one, because I've seen Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes battle numerous times in the playoffs. I've yet to see the Ravens host a conference championship. They've never done that. Both Super Bowls came on road paths, so they're the 1 seed. They got a chance to win a game, host a really good quarterback for an AFC Conference Championship. I'm pulling for that. I would love to see Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes duel in the AFC title game. That is really a lot of NFL fans' dream. That's a spectacle between those two quarterbacks. So, rooting for that, rooting for some good football to watch all of divisional weekend. I think we've got teams in there we didn't expect to see at season's beginning, and I'm excited to watch them, see if they can keep that Cinderella story going. I'm excited to watch the powerhouse one seeds get back in action, and this great QB matchup that's going to finish off divisional weekend between the Chiefs and the Bills. So that's it for our divisional round preview show, guys. As always, do us a favor. Please follow us on Twitter for our personal takes on the NFL landscape and all those things sort. I am at Chase Owens 96. Christian is at C_Mills241. Brian is at Sarver_Brian on Twitter. Please do us a favor. Follow the Instagram pages, the YouTube channel, subscribe, like all the videos we post there at Hot Route Takes. Rate, review the podcast itself on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a comment on all our shorts and TikToks. We'll get posted for you guys and get that algorithm pumping for us. So, as always, we thank you for tuning in and listening along. We'll be back together recapping the divisional round come Monday after work and have that posted for you guys on Tuesday morning. So, as always, guys, thanks for listening. Until next time, peace out.
Peace. Tua sucks.
Oh,
sorry, Tua, bye. Uh-oh, it's doing the recording still.